Autumn's Embrace, Chapter 14. The glow of Christmas Eve lingered well into the following day, as the joy and warmth of the Harper family gathering remained with Elliot. Christmas morning dawned softly over Willow Creek, the snow outside glittering in the early light, untouched and pristine. The town was quiet, save for the occasional sound of children's laughter carrying on in the crisp air as they opened their presents and hurried outside to test out new sleds or toss snowballs at one another. Elliot woke in the farmhouse, feeling that same sense of peace that had been settling over him for weeks. The fire in the living room had long since burned down to embers, but the house still held the lingering warmth from the day before. He stretched and rolled out of bed, pulling on a pair of woolen socks before padding barefoot to the kitchen. The house was quiet, but it wasn't a lonely kind of silence. It was the peaceful kind, the kind that came with knowing he had someone to share the day with, knowing that Lily would be coming over soon. They had made plans to spend Christmas Day together, just the two of them. After the lively gathering with Lily's family the night before, today would be a quieter, more intimate celebration. Elliot couldn't help but smile at the thought. It was exactly what he wanted. The perfect blend of family and togetherness, followed by a day of peace and reflection. As he started a pot of coffee and glanced out the window at the snow-covered fields, his thoughts wandered back to the night before. The warmth of the Harper household, the easy conversations, the way Lily's parents had welcomed him with open arms. It had all felt so right. Meeting her family had been a significant step forward in their relationship. As he stood there in the quiet of the farmhouse, Elliot realized just how much his life had changed since he had arrived in Willow Creek. He had come here to escape, to find peace, to rebuild after a period of uncertainty and burnout in the city. But what he had found was so much more than that. He had found a home. He had found a community. And most importantly, he had found Lily. The sound of a knock on the door pulled him from his thoughts, and Elliot's heart lifted as he crossed the room to answer it. Sure enough, Lily stood on the other side, her cheeks rosy from the cold and a wide smile on her face. She was holding a basket in one hand and a small gift-wrapped box in the other. "Merry Christmas," she said, stepping inside and brushing the snow from her boots. "Merry Christmas," Elliot replied, leaning in to give her a soft kiss. "You're just in time for coffee." Lily's smile widened as she stepped out of her boots and hung up her coat. "Perfect. I brought muffins, too." Elliot chuckled. "You really do know the way to my heart." They moved into the kitchen, the warmth of the house quickly chasing away the cold from the outside. As they settled at the kitchen table, sipping their coffee and enjoying the muffins Lily had brought, there was an easy comfort between them. The kind of comfort that came from spending time with someone who understood you, someone who made everything feel just a little bit better. "So," Lily said after a while, her eyes sparkling as she set her coffee down, "I have something for you." Elliot raised an eyebrow, smiling. "You do?" Lily nodded, pulling the small, gift-wrapped box from her basket and sliding it across the table toward him. "Open it." Elliot hesitated for a moment, his curiosity piqued. He hadn't expected any gifts today. They had agreed to keep things simple and low-key. But the look in Lily's eyes told him that whatever was inside that box, it was something special. Carefully, he untied the ribbon and peeled back the wrapping paper. Inside the box was a small, leather-bound journal. It was simple and elegant, the kind of journal that felt like it had held a world of possibilities within its pages. Elliot ran his fingers over the smooth cover, a smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "A journal," he said softly, looking up at her. Lily nodded, her expression warm. "I thought you could use a fresh start, a place to write down your thoughts, your plans, or anything else that comes to mind." Elliot's chest tightened with emotion. It was such a simple gift, and yet it meant so much. In many ways, it was a symbol of the new life he was building here in Willow Creek. A life filled with possibilities he hadn't even begun to explore yet. "Thank you," he said quietly, his voice thick with emotion. "I love it." Lily smiled, reaching across the table to take his hand. I'm glad. I thought it might be a nice way to mark the start of something new. Elliot squeezed her hand gently and his heart full. It is. It's perfect. They sat in silence for a moment, the warmth of the house and the quiet intimacy of the moment settling over them like a blanket. Elliot couldn't remember the last time he had felt so content, so at peace with where he was in life. And it wasn't just the house, or the town, or the coffee in his hand. It was the person sitting across from him, the person who had become the center of his world. I have something for you, too, Elliot said after a moment, standing up from the table. Lily looked surprised. You do? Elliot smiled, crossing the room to retrieve a small box from the shelf where he had hidden it earlier. It wasn't much, but he wanted to give her something to show her how much she meant to him. When he handed the box to her, Lily looked at him curiously, her fingers hesitating over the wrapping. What is it? Open it and find out, Elliot teased. Lily's smile widened, and she carefully unwrapped the box, her eyes widening slightly as she lifted the lid. Inside was a delicate silver necklace. The pendant a small, intricately detailed snowflake. It was simple but beautiful, just like Lily. Oh, Elliot, she breathed, her eyes shimmering with emotion. It's beautiful. I saw it in the shop window a few weeks ago, he said softly, sitting back down beside her. It reminded me of you. Lily's eyes met his, and for a moment they simply looked at each other, the weight of everything unspoken hanging in the air between them. The necklace was more than just a piece of jewelry. It was a symbol of the love that had grown between them, the quiet, steady love that had taken root and blossomed over the past few months. Thank you, Lily whispered, her voice barely audible. I love it. Elliot smiled, his heart swelling with emotion. I'm glad. Lily reached out, wrapping her arms around him in a tight hug. They stayed like that for a long time, the warmth of their embrace mingling with the warmth of the house, the fire crackling softly in the living room as snow continued to fall outside. It was a quiet Christmas, just the two of them, but it was everything Elliot had ever wanted. No grand gestures, no lavish gifts, just the gift of being together, of knowing that they had found something real and lasting in each other. As the day wore on, they spent the afternoon in peaceful contentment, cooking a simple Christmas dinner together, laughing and talking as they worked side by side in the kitchen. It felt natural, effortless, like they had been doing this for years. Later, as they sat by the fire, enjoying the last of their dinner and sipping wine, Elliot found himself thinking about the future, about what the next year would bring, about the life they were building together. It was still early days, but he knew, deep down, that this was the life he wanted. This was the person he wanted to share it with. Lily leaned against him, her head resting on his shoulder, as they watched the flames dance in the hearth. What are you thinking about? She asked softly. Elliot smiled, wrapping an arm around her and pulling her closely. I'm thinking about how lucky I am. Lily glanced up at him, her eyes soft. Me too. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, the fire casting a warm glow over the room. Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering the world in a blanket of white. It felt like a fresh start, like the beginning of something new and beautiful. I'm not going anywhere, Elliot said after a while, his voice quiet but firm. This is it for me, Lily. This is where I want to be. With you. Lily's eyes shimmered with emotion, and she pressed a soft kiss to his lips. I feel the same way. And as they sat there, wrapped in each other's arms, Elliot knew that this was the gift he had been searching for all along. The gift of togetherness, of love, of building a life with someone who made everything feel brighter, better, more complete. This was Christmas, and this was forever. If you like this chapter of Autumn's Embrace, do not forget to leave a like, share, and comment, and stay tuned for chapter 15,